the overall organization, how did it go for you as somebody watching from behind?
Thank you very much. I do think that at the end of the day, a successful conference was held. In a democracy, what we want to do is to make sure that we are expanding our democratic the quality of our democracy. We want to make sure that we are entrenching the values of democracy, and the strength of our democracy is connected to the strength of our political party. The health of our democracy is inextricably interconnected with the health of our democracy. And so when we see political parties engaging in these democratic processes to strengthen intra-party democratic measures and structures and processes, I really think that it is good for our country and it is good for our democracy.
All right. Listening to their former leaders, i.e., I'm talking about Dr. Bawumia, I'm talking about former President Nana Akufo-Addo, I'm talking about former President again, John Ejekum Kufuor. Listening to them, exactly the things they said. For instance, Dr. Bawumia preaching that they should do away with tribalism, bigotry, and all that. You find Nana Akufo-Addo also preaching to bring the youth, on board, and then other relevant issues that were raised. Looking at it from your point of view, do you think that these speeches, these things that were said by these former presidents and leaders within the MPP party has something to really rekindle the people or the supporters of the party?
Yes, thank you very much. This is sorry, I've been on a couple of media stations. This is English interview, right? So I'm getting okay.
Oh, you can mix it with the tree if you don't mind. I'm fine.
Okay. Yes. So in any democracy, right? So when you look at you compare it to different countries when they are doing their conventions and their conferences. One of the things they do is that they bring in some of the stalwarts of the party. And it is because these people signify certain things within the party. They inspire the people. They give hope. They connote institutional memory within the party, and they give people a sense of belief that the party is based on a particular heritage. It has strong roots, and that they are men of wisdom and men of experience who they can always fall on, who guide the party, and so it emboldens their sense of hope within the party, and it gives a certain sense of assurance. Kind of the way that in our traditional cultural society, elders within our society or within even the chieftaincy system, elders, give that source of authority and that sort of credibility and support to the leadership. And so it's nice when you have these leaders, right, within the party. I remember before they lost Ted Kennedy, people referred to him as the soul of the Democratic Party, sort of, and so for people like former President J. Kufuor, former President Nana Akufo-Addo, and former President Dr. Bawumia, I believe that they play that kind of leadership and elderly role within the party. And so whatever they say is very important. When you look at political parties, figures, major figures within the party who represent a certain ideology, who represent a certain value system that people believe in, they latch onto it and they follow these people, because they're opinion leaders. So whatever they say could shape the party, it could shape the supporters as well. So what they say also is important. That is why what they say is important. So, like you said, former President Kufuor and President Akufo-Addo came in with that positive messages. Former Vice President Dr. Bawumia also spoke, but of course, I believe he was one of the highest-ranking former officials over there And what he said is also important because, of course, he's putting himself up to run again. And the theme, if you do the thematic analysis, the themes around which they spoke, I think were very positive. Themes of unity despite the diversity, themes of admission of some of the wrong that went on and the ability to learn and take lessons from it, themes of hope, themes of unity and participation, and also holding the government accountable to their feet. I mean, putting the fire to holding the fire to their feet, and that's what opposition parties do. So I think that all in all, the messages, I do, it is the attack, the propaganda, the incivility, things that need to break people, and I don't think that we saw that. I mean, one of the major things, if you want to talk about the speeches that were given, Dr. Bawumia has always been a person of solid character in terms of political civility and the kind of language that he speaks when he mounts such a platform. And I do believe that is what we saw when he spoke, speaking to bring people together rather than stoke the fires of the
some people have seen one of the comments that he made in his speech as propaganda. I mean, the issue of saying that he's vowing that 2029, when they are in power or when they come to power, prosecution of these Ablekuma violence. I mean, one would have thought that it would have, positioned well to tell the present government, force them to come up with some form of solution, prosecution or investigation into it. But to say that when you are, in power in 2029, that is when you're going to prosecute. People saw it more of a propaganda speech coming from Dr. Bawumia. Is that the same thing you see?
No, I don't think so at all. I think the two of them are connected. I think it's still one and the same thing. Of course, a prosecution would come out of an investigation, and he had said that already. He had made references, called for an investigation. So I just do think that it is a natural outcome of that. If you put it within the broader context of what he was doing or what he was saying, I do not think there is a sense at all that there will be a certain visual or a certain illegitimate move to jail people or prosecute people just for the sake of it. I doubt. I do not think that was it at all. I think that he has been very consistent in making sure that constitutional and legitimate grounds are made to conduct an investigation, or at least if there is a committee of inquiry, and then to see the outcomes. And if people need to be prosecuted for their actions, they do get prosecuted, because one of the major problems that we've had in this country is implementation, and that oftentimes we pay a lot of lip service to laws and rules and regulations, but when it comes to time to enforce them or to make sure that people who are found of any wrongdoing face the law, sometimes it becomes a bit murky, and I do think that it is in relation to that sense of a lawful nation, a just nation, a very disciplined one, and probably even to the extent of showing a strong leader who will make sure that people who have been found on the wrong side of the law are held accountable for it. I do think it is within that context that this was done.
Okay. It is also said that when speeches are made, it gives clues to certain things that either happened or is going to happen, or we should foresee what is ahead of us. I'm talking about Nana Akufo-Addo's speech read on his behalf. The issue of empowering the youth, the party's youth. Is it a fact that it is a hint to let us know that truly during their last elections and previous, they've never heeded or given much attention to the youth as it were?
Well, that's a roundabout way of going about it. I don't know, but what we can see for sure is that if you look at the demographics, we do have a very youthful population, and young people, because of their very unique characteristics, are a very critical group when it comes to national development. And any political party that pays attention to this demographic group is definitely paying attention to the future of its country, because it is so important to make sure that the future that we desire as a country is safeguarded, and that is predicated on the youthful generation we have. I mean, can you begin to imagine the kind of world we are going to be living in based on the kind of youth that we are building? And so it's very, very important that the youth become mainstreamed into our political activities. Isn't it so beautiful when you go to other democracies? You go to France, you look at the age of their prime minister, you look at the age of some of the people who are running for office. Some people as young as people in their 20s are winning city council elections, winning mayorships and all of that. And when that happens, it means that we are having a very politically conscious citizenship, a very political aware youth. And that is critical, because they need to speak up. They need to talk about the things that concern them. And that is the only way that we can remain connected to such a demographic group. So I think that the attention to the youth is very important, because it's quite sad. Yes, it will be quite sad that we have a youth who are completely disconnected. They don't know who their MPs are. They don't know who their assemblymen are. They don't attend civic events to make sure that their issues are ahead. And so I think any attempt to make sure that there's a certain mainstreaming of the youth into a political process is good, because that is how political culture and political socialization is built within our nation.
And that brings me to one of the key flashpoints when the motions were thrown out. I mean, motion 54 to be specific, concerning Article 15.4 that deals with the youth as a party member. I don't know whether you had a critical look at that particular motion. In fact, the delegates rejected. I mean, the age. 35 years and above and all that, because of the youth issue. That's why I'm bringing it, because that is one of the flash points that really the delegates did not agree to that.
Yes, yes, I do realize that, and different countries have different ways of looking at this, and so it's what it means is that I believe that currently the youthful definition or scope is expanded beyond say the 35 regions, I believe the early 40s, and probably that's how they want to conceptualize it. Well, hey, there are other international definitions of youth. Certain countries maintain it, I think, up to 24. Others say 35.
Yeah.
And then there's a 40 mark. I think there's one or two places that even extend it to 45. But no matter what happens, here's the point. The thing is that there shouldn't be any sense of alienation on the part of the young people. There shouldn't be any sense of disconnect on the part of the young people. There shouldn't be any sense of exclusiveness. There should be a sense of inclusiveness as far as this group is concerned, because their needs, their concerns are very, very new. are very unique, and very germane to the future of the country as well. So, I mean, the more they are not included, the worse it becomes for all of us as a country. And I mean, these things start from the political parties before they come to the national level. And so I do think that steps will be taken to make sure that a lot more young people are encouraged and are involved, because the process of political socialization starts very early. I mean, I have had the opportunity to do some research, to analyze, but I've also been on the ground. I've covered presidential primaries here in Ghana, elections in the U.S. party events, and when you attend when you're on the political beat and you go to some of these countries, you see people attend the events with their young ones, they attend the events with their children, with young people, and the whole idea is that they do want to make sure that they are involving them in the politics of their country, that they don't feel that politics is far from them, and that we are building a very civic-minded citizenship. And I think that once this is paid attention to, it will help a lot more young people to become politically educated.
Nice. Some other lenses were looking at the issue of the whole system scheming. I mean, I'm talking about the delegate conference scheming to really position Dr. Bawumia as the main, even though election is not on yet, even though things have not been open. I mean, and all that, but it's giving other people that perception that. I mean, from the podium, after speaking as the former vice president, coming down, walking the tracks, I mean, taking on the delegates and positioning well, and really not giving that same mileage, so to say, to the other potential presidential candidates for the primaries. Is that how you also saw it?
Well, thank you very much. You know, some of these things are the burdens or the blessings and the curses of political office and the political process. There's not a whole lot you can do about it, because in one breath, yes, I think you've alluded to the fact that he is a candidate. He is putting himself up for the presidential primaries of the party. But at the same time, he's a former vice president. And I do not think that there should be any attempt to undercut that or to ignore it. I mean, just because of the fact that he is putting himself up. Because he's done a lot for this country. And, I mean, I've done vice presidential studies, comparative analysis between Ghana, US, and other things. I've written a book on his vice presidency and how it has contributed to the evolution of that particular office in terms of making it a very useful and a very active, a very vibrant position that can be a force for social good and for social policy in this country. And I think across the broad swath of the political spectrum of this country, there is a certain recognition that the office has increased in terms of stature and in terms of its contribution because of the way Dr. Bawumia conducted himself when he was vice presidency and when he was a vice president, being a very vocal advocate for digitalization and practically contributing to advancing the digital sector of this nation. So, you know, I think you can't, I mean, just ignore some of these things. And I believe that it was in that particular capacity. You know, when you began this interview, you talked about some of the former officials, President Kufuor, former President, Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. So I think that it is kind of the same thing when it comes to his position. You know, people try to tie him to President Kufuor, right?
Yes.
At certain times.
Yes.
You know, and even though he says, well, I was VP, and so there is only an extent to which you can go, people will still, for whatever good it serves them, will still tie him to it. So these are things that come with it, and I mean, we should just learn to go with the blessings, you know, and the burdens that come with some of these things.
Okay, before I let you go, there is one last thing that I really want to ask. Talking about Dr. Bawumia again, I mean, preaching for them to do away with attacks, personal attacks here and there, bigotry, tribalism. I mean, all these things he claims will pose a huge threat on the party and all. But yet, we still have both parties. I mean, they are supporters. They are people who are really positioning them to become the leaders of the party, attacking themselves. How do they do away with this one? What do you think will be the solution? Because we're now going to start proper, someone who will say campaign to see one of them becoming the leader of the party.
Well, it's a very good question, you know, and it is a natural outcome of a political, of an election, right? So once a party wins an election, yes, I mean, there's excitement, there's positivity, and nobody really, I mean, goes back to any major fight. The people are happy and the government is formed. But once you're in opposition, then the finger pointing starts. You know, the blame game starts. The rumor mongering is further enhanced. The bickering, the antagonism, you know, the divisions, you know, and all of that. So I think it's an outcome of it, and how that is managed is very, very, very important to the party's attempt to come back and to be sometimes even the survivor of the party, because these break-ins have sometimes even led to certain divisions within, in certain contexts. So I think it's a good, it's an important thing to pay attention to, and maybe, just maybe, that is probably the reason why there are calls or there are attempts for the party to actually close ranks as quickly as possible and to move on. There have been, and there's a school of thought that has said that, hey, this is why we need to elect our presidential candidate early, because the process that leads to that can be very, very visceral. People are tearing themselves apart. People are attacking each other, sometimes to the extent that it becomes ample ammunition or ample fodder for the opposition party in the general elections. And so I do believe that there is some wisdom or there is some usefulness to the attempt by the party to make sure that the PD partying is reduced, to make sure that the lamentations and the recriminations are things that they don't get stuck in, that they move beyond that, and that as early as possible in January they are having these primaries and they are having these events to make sure that a candidate is elected. Because once that happens, then it means that the party can come together again, focus their attention on holding the government accountable, on preferring good policies for the country, and to make sure that they are performing their rightful role as an opposition. And so maybe this is one of the things that can curb these divisions, these antagonisms that honestly, I mean, have the propensity to tear apart a party. And let's not underestimate that potential, because it could even lead to breakaways and factional groups. And that is why it's important for them to really come together very quickly to make sure that ranks are closed and that they fought together in unity.
So I can say on authority that Professor Etse Sikanku, acting Dean, Faculty of Journalism and Media Studies, UNIMAC, supports or believes in the top-bottom approach.
Well, I mean, I don't think you should put words in my mouth, but I think I've stated the reasons why. yes, I don't think you should do that. I think I've stated the reasons why that school of thought would hold sway within the party. I think I've explained.
But do you support that school of thought?
Well, that's not for me to say. So I think we should move on.
Thank you so much, Prof, for talking to us, and we'll talk once again.
All right.
Thank you so much. Professor Etse Sikanku, acting Dean, Faculty of Journalism and Media Studies, UNIMAC, and AD and Komo Efa. So when it comes to the National Delegate Conference, so over the weekend, Legon Sports Stadium,